Hi there. My name is Fernando Fuertes Muñoz. I will be your teacher for this class. Today's lesson we will be talking about the present perfect tense, okay? And we will contrast this topic to the present perfect continuous. So it's pretty important for you to understand this first, okay? And it's pretty important as well that you understand what is the function or the translation in your language, okay? So I will give you a video before this. Hopefully you already watch it. It's a revision of all the tenses, and then I explain about this topic, okay? In a very general way, I explain about I call them in Spanish los tiempos del haber, okay? And explico esto, lo explico en español porque es importante que tú entiendas cuál es la equivalencia de este tipo de oraciones en tu propia lengua, ¿ok? Yo podría poner una formulita que es muy sencilla, es un sujeto, un have o un has, y un verbo en pasado participio y se acabó, eso es todo. But the problem is, the real thing is that you need to understand what is the function of this structure, or what is the translation in your language, okay? Because when you speak in English, when you try to speak in English and you are a beginner, you first think in Spanish and then you have to translate. So that's a thing, that's a problem, that's a fact that you will translate. When you're thinking in Spanish and you want to speak in English, you will generally, that's the way that we do it when you learn English as a second language, okay? It's different, but when you learn English as a foreign language like you do, it's a little bit harder and it's a little bit difficult. So I suggest you go to the video that I will actually send to your teacher. It's about 8 tenses in English, and then I want you to pay attention on this specific tense. I will work with this, okay, isolated, just with this topic. Este tema de manera aislada te lo voy a explicar, pero tendrías que ir al video. Previamente mandaré también con tu docente y tu tutor para que puedas tener un general de esta parte de los tiempos verbales y en específico este tema, okay? So, well, what is the present perfect? The present perfect is a structure that you can use to express or to connect an action to the past, okay? That is the function. You can use the present perfect when you talk about past true events, okay? You can use the present perfect when you talk about past finished actions or events, when you use unfinished past events, when you use recent past results, right? And when you are talking about something that you usually did, okay? Like repetitive past actions or events, okay? So the present perfect is just a name, it's just the name of the tense, okay? The structure is really simple, right? I just wrote these examples just to connect one with each one of these functions, okay? Let's start with past repetitive. When you do things that maybe you usually do, right? And they're not new for you, okay? You can use the present perfect like this. I have fed my dog since he was a cub. Okay? Recuerden que les llamo yo en español estos tiempos have, had, will have. Si no has visto el video, te sugiero que lo detengas aquí y vayas al video que estoy recomendando, que es los tiempos verbales, estos tiempos que te hablo. Have, had, will have y will have. todos ellos tienen algo en común. Están conectados al pasado. They are connected to the past. Y they are always using the verb in the past participle. Si se dan cuenta, vean, fed es el pasado participio de feed, que es alimentar. Turned es turned off, es el pasado participio de apagar. Studied es el pasado participio de study. ¿Okay? Esa es la característica de los tiempos del haber. Todos los tiempos del haber siempre usarán el verbo en pasado participio. So that's the thing. You have to pay attention on this and focus. If you don't know, la estructura no es difícil. Si tú no sabes el verbo en pasado participio, ahí tendrás el problema. So that's why it's really important to work with the verbs. Okay? To work with the three forms of the verb: the infinitive, the simple past, and the past participle. Okay? And well, let's just continue with this. So I was telling you, repetitive actions or events. I have fed my dog since he was a cub. A cub es un cachorro. Entonces digo, yo he alimentado a mi perro desde que él era un cachorro. That means that todos los días lo he ido alimentando, right? Es algo repetitivo, okay? Next, recent past results, okay? Resultados en el pasado, como decía, conecta el presente con el pasado. Y cuando digo que conecta el presente con el pasado, por eso me refiero a que es reciente. Ejemplo, I have just turned off the computer. He apagado la computadora. Este es just. Es la equivalencia en español de acabo. Ajá. Solo que en español usamos el acabo con pasado simple como acabo de apagar la computadora. En este caso lo interpretaría de esta manera. Yo he apagado la computadora. Justo la he apagado. Justo ahora la he apagado. That will be the idea, right? Pero invito a que veas este just como el acabar de. They just, they just got married. Es como ellos se acaban de casar. Este just, aparte de justo, de, like justice, right? Just, justo, solo, okay? It is an adverb in here. Está funcionando como un adverbio que es muy común cuando hablamos de cosas que acaban de pasar, acaban de suceder. Reitero, en español su equivalencia sería como el acabo de, como lo que acabo de decir, right now, Then we have past unfinished situations or events. Example, I have studied English for 10 years. Yo he estudiado inglés por 10 años. That means that you haven't finished, that you are still learning English. Okay, you will never stop. Okay, that's the function of the present perfect in this sentence. It is not finished. It is not complete the action. Okay, next, a past finished action or event. I have paid the rent. Just like that. I just paid the rent. I have paid the rent. That means that you did it, that the rent is paid, the rent is covered, okay? And you don't have to pay it again because you already paid for it. So, the past true events. I have read that book. Example, somebody says, oh, hey, have you read this book? It's amazing. And you say, oh yeah, I have read it. I have read that book. Yo he leído ese libro. ¿Ok? Estás hablando de algo verdadero, de una acción real y están en el pasado. Recuerden, todos los tiempos del haber, I have, I had, I will have, all of them are connected by two things. One thing, they always use the verb in the past participle. Siempre usan el verbo en pasado participio. And the other thing, y la otra cuestión que las une, lo que tienen en común es que los cuatro tiempos del haber están conectados de alguna manera con el pasado. Aún se llame futuro perfecto, está relacionado con una acción que para ese entonces habrá terminado. Ese es el futuro perfecto. Bien. El presente perfecto consta de un sujeto, consta de un auxiliar que es have o has. Has lo utilizarán las terceras personas. Si aquí en este caso, en lugar de hablar de yo como en primera persona, utilizo una tercera persona como mi madre, diría my mother has. My mother has read the book. My mother has paid the rent. My mother has studied English for 10 years. My mother has just turned off the computer. And my mother has fed my dog since he was a cat. Lo único que cambiaría en este caso, por ser una tercera persona, que sería my mother, es en lugar de have, voy a utilizar has. Right? And that's pretty much it about the form. Yeah? So I'm gonna explain to you the three forms of this, the present perfect. So in affirmative, in negative, and interrogative. So the affirmative, just one example, I will say, let's say my best friend has, I don't know, has my best friend has written a poem. Mi mejor amigo ha escrito un poema. My best friend could be he or she. That's why I use has. Si el sujeto hubiera sido otra persona diferente a estas terceras personas, por ejemplo, si hubiera sido ellos, they, o en plural, my friends, ya es plural, ya no es tercera persona, ya no iría have, sino tendría que ir my friends have, y lo demás, written a poem. So that's the difference. Has or have, they are present perfect. Both are present perfect. But you will use has when you talk about a man, a woman, or a thing. This could be an animal as well. Okay? A man, a woman, or a thing, or an animal. You would use has. You use have for the rest. For I, for you, for we, for they, right? I have written a poem, you have written a poem, we have written a poem, they have written a poem. So my friends are they, so they have written a poem. My best friend is just he or she or a dog. So you say he has written a poem, she has written a poem, or it has written a poem. Let's think about Robert, right? So you say it has written a poem. So this is the affirmative form, okay? Let me use different color, and I'm sorry, and I'm going to erase this. So this is just the explanation about have or has, right? So this is the affirmative. I'm gonna write it here. This is the affirmative. Let's go with the negative. Okay, the negative form is gonna be, I'm gonna use the same, okay? So you say, my best friend, the negative, hasn't written a So what I'm doing is this. Has not. My best friend has not written a poem, and it's the same if I use the contraction. My best friend hasn't written a poem. So this is the negative form. The only difference is that you use the auxiliary in the negative form, contracted or not contracted. And that's it. What happens when you use a question? When you use an interrogative form? So remember, all questions have auxiliary, subject, verb. Auxiliary, subject, verb. So the auxiliary in this case is this, right? I'm gonna circle the auxiliary. So I'm gonna start with the auxiliary, and then it says has who? My best friend. Has my best friend, and then the verb, written a poem, and that's the question. So questions, negatives, and affirmatives. Same thing, you use the verb to be in the past participle. Look, written, written, written. All the time, all the perfect tenses, all the simple perfect tenses will use the verb in the past participle, right? The only difference, the only change is that when you ask the question, you always start with this. Auxiliary, subject, verb. And that's the question. It works for all the tenses. Do you work? Did you work? In this case, the perfect tense. Have you worked? In this case is has, auxiliary. My best friend is the subject, is the person, okay? And the verb or the complement is written a poem. Has my best friend written a poem? That's the structure. So you have affirmative, negative, and interrogative. And that's it. Okay? It's very simple, very basic. The most important thing, the most relevant thing or part of this, it is not the structure. The structure is really simple. You only have to memorize and practice, and you will keep it. You will remember. But the problem will be that you do not know this. If you don't know the verb in the past participle of the tense or sentence or idea that you want to express, si no conoces el verbo de la idea, de la oración, del enunciado, en el tiempo que estés hablando, cualquiera de los tiempos perfectos, si no conoces el verbo en su pasado participio, estará equivocada, estará errónea tu respuesta o el uso que le des. ¿Qué pasaría si yo no pongo el verbo en pasado participio? ¿Qué pasaría si yo pongo solo write? Vean, write. Write es escribir. Entonces dice, mi mejor amigo a escribir un poema. It doesn't make sense. Mi mejor amigo no a escribir un poema. Tiene que ir el verbo en pasado participio para que diga, mi mejor amigo ha escrito un poema. Eso sería lo que pasaría si yo omito el verbo en pasado participio. Es por eso que debes de recordar que siempre en los tiempos del haber el verbo no va en su forma normal. Si tú lo pones en su forma normal, va a sonar como lo que estás diciendo, como lo que acabo de explicar. Cuando dije mi mejor amigo a escribir. Puedes decirlo en español incluso. La gente tal vez te puede entender, pero sabe que estás mal. Y gramaticalmente en un examen está mal. Okay? So just keep in mind that you will always use the verb in the past participle. And if you don't study, if you don't learn the verbs in the present simple, in the infinitive, in the simple past, and the past participle, you are in trouble. Okay? So be careful. I will add a second part to teach and to present the present perfect continuous in a second video. Okay? So see you later. Bye bye.